Hi, I'm Laurel Still for Lujack Promotions Meet the Music, and today we get to sit down with Larry Mitchell. He's a Grammy Award winning engineer, producer, and a fabulous guitar player. Larry, hi, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for
Thank,
having me on the show.
thank you so much for coming out here. Now, you actually, we're in Tacoma, but you actually live in another state. Where are you living?
I live in Opelika, Alabama.
Opelika, Alabama, but you're not originally from Alabama.
No,
No.
I'm from born in Brooklyn
Mm-hmm.
and spent the early years there, and then later moved to Far Rockaway, Queens, and
Mm-hmm.
went to high school there. And it's actually a cool neighborhood. You know, Steve Stevens, the guitar player from Billy Idol.
Not personally, but I do know. I do.
Steve
I
was
do
the
know.
local guitar hero.
Nice.
And another friend of mine, Jeff Ball, who plays with Brian Ferry and Tom Waits, a great guitar player. So it was a cool neighborhood. There's a lot of other musicians who haven't gotten as far in their careers, but great players. And then right up the road, we also have another group of musicians up there in the Five Towns. My friend John Levin's a great guitar player. He's been playing in Dokken for a long time, and quite a few other guitar players.
Would you say it was the area that influenced? Were there any programs or something? I mean, what was the community like? To spurt out so many wonderful artists of our time.
You know, I'm pretty sure, I believe Steve is self-taught.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff was kind of self-taught, but he took some lessons from Steve Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm self-taught, but I hung out with we hung out. That's what it was. We all just kind of hung out. It was a really wonderful, healthy, I won't say competition. Like, I was more into funk and R&B stuff there. John was more into Van Halen, and I was into Van Halen too, but he knew how to play like Van Halen, Yngwie, Dokken, any George Lynch stuff. Um, and when you hang out, it's like, oh, what chord is that? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh yeah, it's this chord. Oh, what are you doing there? Or show me how to play that one thing. And it was just a cool vibe to hang out. And there were pockets of musicians that way,
Mm-hmm.
and very supportive. I guitar tech for John.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I think it was just a really good time to grow up there. It gave me a good healthy view on competition, if you say. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I auditioned, years later, I auditioned for an artist named Billy Squire,
Mm-hmm.
and when I got called for it out of the blue, I actually don't even remember who recommended me,
Mm-hmm.
but I called a couple of my friends who were guitar players, and one who had just moved to town, and he wasn't in the same vibe. Um, but I said, hey, I got called to audition for Billy Squire. You know, if you want to audition as well, you should check. You know, you should call and check and see if you can. And his response was, well, why are you telling me if you're auditioning? I said, because if I don't get it, I would want one of my friends to get the gig.
That is so wonderful.
That's just the way it was. And I have a lot of friends that are great drummers that have
Mm-hmm.
been touring, and they were like that too. They could recommend each other for a gig and know you're not going to try and steal their gig.
So you produce. What artists? How do you find your artists?
Now it's more like they find me.
Mm-hmm.
I got started producing after in '95 or '94. I had been signed to 5 record labels,
Mm-hmm.
and back then you couldn't make a record on your phone like you can now.
You didn't have Reverb Nation or any of that.
Yeah,
No.
or even just record it. You know,
Yes.
you needed like a lot of gear, spend a
You
lot
did
of
a
money.
studio, yeah, exactly.
And so I was kind of figuring out, and I had done a tour with artists named Tracy Chapman and Billy
Mm-hmm.
Squire and Nick McCassick. And back then also, when you got off the road, you had to go hang out in clubs
Yes.
to let everybody know you're back so they can hire you. Now you just get on Facebook and go, hey, I'm back in town, and then
Mm-hmm.
people see you. But back then, you needed to go hang out. And since I had never really drank or did drugs or anything, or
Yeah.
just really, I'm not a party kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
I used to only hang out in clubs when I was playing,
Yeah.
or go see someone playing, and I was removed from the scene for a while. So it took me a while to get back in, and I'd run into people 2 years later and go, hey, how's the Tracy Chapman tour going? And I go, that ended 2 years ago. Oh, yeah, we did this record, and we got this guy, he's kind of sounds like you, because we wanted that thing you do, and I wish we knew you were home. And I'm like, yeah, I've been home for 2 years. But anyway, I had been signed to 5 record labels and did not like the music business,
Mm-hmm.
the business part of music.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that again, and trying to figure out where the next step was. And a friend of mine, Sam Raymond, who was building a studio with digital tape machines in his backyard, in his basement, and he said, "You need to go make a record. Here's the keys to my house.
Okay.
Go make a record." And I said, "Wow, all right." So every day I would get to go to his home. He would be at work, and I would sit in the basement staring at all this gear going, yeah, I've never been on this side of it, really. And I would call friends, and I had some wonderful friends that took the time to help me walk me through it. And I made a god-awful electric record, because I was known for rock and roll, like rock records, instrumental rock records. I made an awful record primarily because I didn't write good songs. If you have a really good song, you can record it badly and it still gets through.
Comes off, yeah.
And I got some really wonderful friends to play on it, and everybody was too nice. They would go, "Oh, you want me to play in this?" "Oh, okay," and they would just play, but they wouldn't say, "Hey, maybe you should rewrite this." But anyway, a good friend of mine came down to this basement in Queens, and he listened to the stuff and to give me a little critique. And he goes, "So what else you got?" I go, I don't have anything else." He goes, "What? You've been writing these acoustic songs. Why don't you record some of those as practice?" So I would go back down there for about 2 weeks, and I'd try and fix the electric record. And when I got frustrated with that, I would start recording the acoustic record or the acoustic songs. And then when he came back, he goes, "Let me hear the electric record." And he goes, "Okay, what else you got?" So I played him the acoustic stuff. And I remember he said, "Why don't you let me mix this?" I'm going, "Let you mix it? You mix records for a living." "Sure, if you want to mix it. I'm not known for acoustic stuff, so whatever you want to do."
Yeah.
So his name is Jeff Copeland. He's a good friend of mine, and great producer, engineer, and songwriter. He's the #1 songwriter. And he mixed it, and totally by accident, that became a record. And I mean, every step of the way, somebody did something to help to force that record to come out. And all I had to do was basically stay out of the way and say, "Okay, sure." And then go, "Oh, I'm putting out an acoustic record, but I'm not known for acoustic stuff." And but anyway, after that record came out, and I moved to San Diego, California, I got some money together, and I built a recording studio at my home, because that gave me the confidence that I can make a record on my own and sell it however I want.
Yes.
When a lot of people weren't doing that back then. And in San Diego, there's a rich original music platform or community.
Yeah.
And a couple of the singer-songwriters heard that I had recording gear, and they asked me to help them. One is help them do pre-production, the other one's to record a single. They were getting ready to do a record. And so I did, and about a year later, I'm still working on another one of my records, and they both came back and said, "We like what you did, can you produce a whole record?" And then it just got started, word of mouth.
So do you feel that with your past experience with record labels that you approach your artists differently?
I'm not really I'm not a record label, but I have been able to help artists on their first record establish their style.
Yeah.
And so I'm always going to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And I have when I speak at colleges about production and stuff, I had a really cool singer-songwriter who's become a friend. We never ended up doing well, we did one song that got nominated for some awards, but we never did a whole record. But she came to me and she said, "I hear you're good at helping people figure their style out, and I want to do a certain type of music, and every producer I go to wants to make me a country artist." And I'm like, "Okay." And so she played me a song, and I'm like, "Wait, hold on a second." So I just quickly tapped out a hip hop beat, a straight up hip hop beat. I said, "Sing it," and she recorded, just a quick vocal, and I think she might have played acoustic guitar. And when I went to play it back, I just pulled out the acoustic guitar, so it was just her voice and a hip hop beat. And I played it back. She goes, "Why does it sound country?" I can't help you there. The only thing in there is a hip hop beat, which is not country, and your voice. So, so she had to come to grips with that.
That's for sure.
So I try to. I've also had artists come in that had bad experiences in studios, and I try to make people feel comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and because if you're comfortable, you can get. It's an intimate thing between the artist and whoever you're working with,
Yes.
and you want to get the best out of the artist. And I don't do things. I never did things by a clock, so you're not paying by an hour.
Yeah.
So, because if you're doing that, you're rushing your vocals, which is the
Yeah.
worst thing you want to do.
Exactly.
Vocals. Once you put a vocal on the track, it is the most important thing. So, spend more time on that if you have to.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And so many stories were like, oh yeah, we spent all this budget on recording the band, and we had like a day to do all the vocals. It's like that doesn't necessarily work.
Yeah,
Even
that's
if you're
awesome. Yeah.
absolutely seasoned, great singer, you still want time to settle into the track.
That's a human being. It's not a guitar.
Yeah.
Because a guitar will always be in tune as long as it's been properly tuned. But a human being, you've got so many factors.
Yeah, I mean, it's the emotion you want to. You gotta convince. If you're not convinced of what you're singing, then no one else is going to be convinced of what you're singing.
Exactly.
So you have to get back in that head. And a lot of times, when you go in the studio, you're worried about singing the song, and I'm worried about you living the song.
Exactly.
Convince me. Tell me what the song is. Show me what the song's about. Sing. Don't just worry about singing the right notes.
Yes.
You have to put the emotion and everything else behind it. The intent. Come in with intent. So I try and help artists that way. I'm fortunate that I work with the artists that I want to work with. So I've been busy enough that I work with artists I feel comfortable with. We always do a test run of a song and see how it goes. And if it doesn't go well, then it's like nobody owes anybody anything.
Yeah.
And you just we can go have a cup of coffee. But if you continue and it goes bad, then it's like you don't want to talk to that person again.
Yeah.
So I like to do that. I like to see how they work and them to see how I work. And if that works, then we have a starting point.
That's wonderful.
It's the way it's worked for me.
I think that's a wonderful thing. And it makes artists very comfortable because it's very hard and very vulnerable. Writing your own music is very, very vulnerable.
Absolutely, sharing some intimate stuff about whatever the song's about, and then having to perform it in front of some strange person.
Exactly. So you're performing again since COVID. You, since the quarantine, you've been going live every Tuesday.
Well, actually, I've been going live for 4 years.
For 4 years?
3 years before COVID, I was doing live on Tuesday nights, and then I added Sunday night acoustic nights during COVID.
Nice.
I wanted to do something. I wanted to do another night because I wasn't playing out as much. And then I did a couple of nights where it was electric as well, but I was like, I don't want it to be the same vibe as Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
Tuesday night has its own thing. It's electric, it's rock, funk, bluesy rock, my songs from past records. And so I was dividing up and playing some acoustic stuff because I have an acoustic record, and I have a new acoustic record now, and I've produced some meditation CDs, and I have a whole different thing for other artists. And the record that won the Grammy is a Native American flute record. So on Sunday nights, I wanted to have a different vibe. And one Sunday I just started acoustic. I was in a mellow mood, and when I started, I did maybe 20 minutes on acoustic, and I got ready to switch, and I kept saying, I'm going to switch to electric in a minute, because I was thinking that there were some people that really wanted to hear the electric stuff, and there were a few, but the comments were all, please keep it in this vibe. And last year, it was an insane year. There was a lot of stress. So people kept going, no, this is what I need right now. This is perfect. Can you stay there? So I did that. And the next Sunday I said, I'm just going to do it all acoustic. And I got a bowl of popcorn, and I always have chocolate around because my studio is called the Chocolate Room.
Nice.
And so I was like eating some popcorn. It's like, why don't you guys go make some popcorn and come back to the screen and watch, and we'll have popcorn and make some chocolate. And I think it was cold, chilly one night, so I got some hot chocolate. And so that's how it became like Sunday nights, or go get some popcorn and come hang out. And people do. They go, look, I'm making popcorn. I'm going to have, and of course,
and fold their laundry.
Fold their laundry. Some people fold their laundry with a bottle of wine or a glass of wine. I've been
Exactly. Listen to Larry Mitchell. It's a good way to pass the time and relax. Yeah.
So that's how the streaming happened, and also I went and did a couple of healing concerts last year at the Atlantic Center of the Arts, at a wonderful theater in Arkansas. They saw the Atlantic Center for the Arts healing concert and invited me to come out and do one there and bring some other artists and stuff. And it was a really wonderful time. It was the first time we all had been in front of a live audience. It was a socially distanced. There were people that hadn't been out of their homes that came. They hadn't been out of their homes in months.
Yeah.
And so the audience was crying. And the artists on stage were crying. And it was like, God, this is great. And now I'm back. I stream still wherever I'm at. I try and stream on Sunday nights. Couldn't do it last night. I did a house concert, private concert at the same time. But Tuesday nights I try to rarely miss.
Yeah.
I've done it from an airport baggage claim. I've done it from an airport gate. I almost did it on a plane once, but couldn't line it up.
That would have been great. That would have been great. So you mentioned that you have a new album out. Actually, you have 2 albums out.
Yeah.
Yes. So you did an electric and an acoustic.
Yeah, last year I was extremely productive.
Yeah.
With all the stuff going on, before we got shut down, I had just come back from Virginia working with a Native American artist, Dawn Avery. And I had been working on 2 singer-songwriter records. Katie Martin, who I've done 4 or 5 records with. Forgive me, Katie, I can't remember. I think it's 5. And then a new artist, Jeannie Karen. And she was talking about, she's a single mom, college professor, been playing the bar scene, has some really nice original tunes, and just met by accident. And I said, so when are you doing something? She goes, oh, I don't know how to do it. I mean, you haven't released anything. And so we just did it. I had her record something, an acoustic guitar vocal, real quick. And then I'm an all-in-one producer, so I play drums, bass, guitar, keys, whatever the artist doesn't play, whatever we need. And then after, if we like it, I can replace, I have no ego about it, we can place whatever we need to replace with the better part for somebody else, from somebody else.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
you just lay down the track.
Yeah.
So it's a placeholder.
Yeah. I did the track for her and she loved it. She said, I want to do a whole record. And so we started doing this record and she was at my house on a Friday night, and we were about 5-6 hours away from being finished with her whole record, which meant we could have really worked through most of the night and done it, or come back the next day. And we stopped because her daughter texted her that they canceled the NBA season. We were like, that's crazy, because of COVID. And we're like, that's crazy. What? So we stopped to watch the news. And we watched and we hung out and chatted. And she's like, I got to get home. And it was late. She needed to drive home. She lived a while far away. And we said, we'll pick up on Monday. And that Monday didn't continue until, it didn't happen again until November. Months later. So I moved to Alabama after my stepfather passed away to help take care and spend time with my mom. But I hadn't been there. In the 10 years I've been living in Alabama, the longest in one shot I've been there was about 3 weeks. And my mom was comfortable. She just knew that I was coming back. And my recording studio was there. Yeah. My guitars are there and stuff. But last year, during the stay at home, we watched The Price is Right and Let's Make a Deal every morning.
Nice.
With breakfast, and then I would work on either Jeannie or Katie Martin's record, one song, and then I'd watch a movie because there was no deadline and no hurry. So I'd watch a movie and then take a nap. I love naps.
Yeah.
And then I would wake up and work on one of my songs because I was writing a lot. Yeah. Watch a movie and then take a nap, and then I'd wake up again and it'd be time to watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy with my mom for dinner. Nice. Then I'd maybe work on another song, either Jeannie or Katie's record, and either watch a movie or just continue burning the midnight oil and work. Yeah. And I got to rethink some things on Jeannie's record, which I'm I'm happy I did. She's been getting a lot of radio play
Good.
and really doing well with that. But I wrote a bunch of things, and since my acoustic record Escape came out in '95, um, I have always tried to put a couple of acoustic pieces on the new records.
Yeah.
So wasn't necessarily all electric or all acoustic. And sometimes people will be like, "Oh, this is great. I love the acoustic stuff. I wish you'd do another whole acoustic record." And some people would be, "Yeah, it'd be great if you kept doing the electrics like an all electric record." But I like the album experience. So even though there are acoustic songs and electric songs, I feel like it's a cohesive listening experience. Even though we don't necessarily listen to music that way, you build your own playlist, but you can start from the beginning and go to the end, and you feel like you've been taken on a little bit of a journey.
Yeah.
And I like that. And
Yeah.
even if it's acoustic songs that happen in there, but I was writing acoustic songs and electric songs, and I had a lot of friends that were going through real chaos and turmoil, and a lot of friends in New York that were not doing well with the height of COVID there, and then just people in general that were just starting to lose it from either staying home or just watching too much news or just stuff that was going on. You know, we were a bit divided. The country it still is a bit divided, but especially last year, it's an election year as well, and I started to notice that the electric record's called Shadows on the Soul, and it has a certain kind of vibe to it, and the acoustic record's called The Light Within, and it has a little bit more of a positive vibe to it, and so I started working on these things, and I was like, well, you know, it doesn't matter right now. I don't think they're all one record. I think it's two different records. Later on, I'll have to sort out which one I release first and how I release it. But they're not the same record, so there's two different vibes.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to release anything in 2020 because it's a really bizarre year to try and promote anything and release anything. It's an election year as well. And then as time went on, I said, oh, let me just mix the record. As I would mix one song, I would write another one. And it became more focused.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I can say is that. So I would weigh the options, like the song I just finished mixing or the song I just wrote. And most of the time, the song I just wrote would win out. They were the same message.
Yeah.
They were, and it may be odd to some people because my music is instrumental. But for me, they were the same message. So this one was a more cohesive way to say this. So, and then the acoustic record, The Light Within, was more of a positive message, and I was doing the same thing. And I kept paring them down. I said, maybe I'll just release EPs. And as we got closer and closer towards the end of the year, I said, I'm going to just release them. And an artist, Katie Martin, turned me on to Bandcamp. Most of my records are on through CD Baby and TuneCore, so they're on Spotify and iTunes and Amazon and stuff like that. But that's a whole other debate on how artists get paid and not paid. So I thought I'd give Bandcamp a shot with just the two new records. So they're only available on Bandcamp.
Okay.
And I'm happy I did that. But I did the one thing that I would never tell my artists that I produced to do. I released two records on the same day, the week of an election in a year of a global pandemic. Probably not the best thing for promotion, but I'm happy I did.
Good. I'm glad you did too. It's so wonderful to hear your music again because it does bring a refreshing light into our lives. Thank you very much for that. So with those two albums now, how is that? It's been almost a year.
Yes.
Yes. And so promoting it, it was a good idea, right?
I have gotten lucky because I did things in a sequence that just kind of paid off by doing the streaming for 3 years before COVID, now 4 years. I had a built-in audience, and when I announced the records, the response was great. And then on Sunday nights, I announced the electric record on Tuesday, and then the acoustic record on Sunday, and I had a built-in audience, and it was really good. It was as opposed to just announcing it and hoping people would go.
Yeah.
The immediate response was great. Absolutely.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Thanks. And it was just happened to be that I did it in this quarter, and I believe in a lot of times you do things for the right reasons. And the reason for me doing the acoustic night, the Tuesday night live in the first place, was just because I remember coming home and somebody wanted. I don't play that much when I'm home in Alabama. I have one venue that I play at a couple of times a year. I'm usually there working in the studio or just hanging out. And so this venue that didn't know me at all called me and said, "Could you come and play on this Tuesday night?" I'm like, "Oh, Tuesday night." And what they offered me was like, I could stay home and make more than that. So I'm going to stay home, And it wasn't, if it was, I also like working with people that I enjoy working with.
Yes.
Same thing with production. So I won't, even if someone's super talented, if the vibe, if our personalities don't get along vibe, I'm not going to produce their record. I'll recommend someone else.
Yeah.
And I've produced artists that weren't anywhere near as talented as say someone like that, and we've made great records.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so I stayed home and went live.
Yeah,
and I in the early days of Facebook, before they kept changing the algorithms, by the end of the night I had 2,000 views. I can't play many places where on a Tuesday night I have 2,000 people that just watch me.
That's amazing.
Perform. So it's cool. I wasn't there wasn't the whole tipping or anything like that. But it was just like, it's cool, and it led to other gigs in other places and stuff.
So you, I wanted to get back on your stuff, how you release. So you release full albums at a time. Other artists like to release one song at a time. Well, how do you feel as a producer about those two different theories?
I'm all about producing one song at a time. I did release one single for a week for 2 weeks. You should probably do it longer than that. But I did one single, and then the next week I released another single, and the following week I released the entire record. But if you don't necessarily have a following, it might be better for you to release a single. Probably record 2 songs at the same time, 2 of your songs. Release one as a single, and promote the crap out of it. Okay. And these days, it's probably better for most artists to release a single, and instead of spending the money doing a whole record, do a video. And every now and then I speak at some colleges on production or engineering or guitar, and there's so many ways to make a music video now. I go back to the old days of working for, later on we skipped a little bit, but I worked for this production team and labels and stuff. And so if you had a whole record, one of the things you did back then was you spent crazy money on a full production video. There's a storyline, there's extras and a whole bit. And then there's you guys will recognize this and laugh now. Then there's the generic, I'm in the studio tracking the song music video. And then there might be we're on the road and walking and hanging on a tour bus. Now we're hitting into the 80s. We're on the tour bus, getting off the tour bus, traveling. Yeah. And if you got some concert video, you squeeze that in there. And then your budget's gone for videos unless you start having lots of sales. So the rest, you do what's called lyric videos.
Yes.
And I believe Bob Dylan created the original lyric video back probably in the 60s, late 60s, maybe 70s, where I forgot what song it is, but he's standing there. I think he didn't want to do a video, so he's got the lyrics printed on cards. Yeah. And as they go by, he just throws the card down and throws the card down. That's a lyric video. The lyrics go by. Yes. I've seen some really cool creative lyric videos and stuff like that. But those are cheap to make. You can use one camera. These days, it's amazing the technology that we all have. You can make a music video on your iPhone or Android phone. Yeah. You can edit it on there. You can but if you want to do fancy cuts and all kinds of stuff, you have to do things. But you can make a lyric video with just with just cards if you want to do that, or you can
Very
just stand there and with an attitude and then type in words as they go by,
Yeah.
follow the bouncing ball kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Disney did it with Disney Sing Along and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
exactly.
But so it's a fun, interesting time to be an artist. It's not the best time to make a living as an artist, but it's a fun, interesting, because all the tools that we used to complain about, we needed a record company for, we now have that ability in our own hands to do it. So it's a wonderful time to be an artist because we have all this technology at our hands. And I know it's like, well, you have a lot to learn and stuff like that, but if you don't want to invest in your own career, then why would you expect someone else to do it?
Exactly.
We used to complain that we needed all that stuff. We needed a team of people. You still do. If you have fortunate enough to have a team of people, that's great. You should be like the captain of a ship and know a little bit about every aspect of your career, and then it helps you in picking the right people
Yes.
to take it further. So we have the ability to make music videos, to make your own recordings. So I think that every singer-songwriter should be able to at least record their stuff and archive them. And the better you get at that, so if you were home and you were playing guitar and you wrote this great song, and you were able to track it, multi-track it, just even acoustic guitar and a vocal, to a click or to a drum machine or something like that, then you go, all right, I'm going to go in the studio and do it. And you go in the studio and you go, wow, how come the demo sounds better? Because we used to have that beat the demo. You do a demo at home, you go in the studio and you go, how come the demo has more, because it's fresh when you first did it and you're living it. If you were an artist that was able to record your stuff at home separately at decent quality, you could lift that vocal performance off that and put it on the original. On the recorded, the full studio one, or you could start with that and go in the studio and do it. If you go, that was an amazing performance, something like that. So we have that ability, or should be able to do that. You have the ability to promote yourself. There's even the ability to get some sort of radio play. My friend Jeannie, who I promoted, I gave her some advice about to try for getting radio, and she took it to heart, and she's gotten a ton of first online radio and then some independent local radio. We'll see if she's able to get to the next thing, like commercial radio, which is hard, very hard.
Very hard. It's very hard.
But it all helps.
It does.
Even the online stuff, and there are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of online radio stations. So keep that in mind.
Definitely. And definitely, how do you find these radio stations though? Are they listening to these independent radio stations? And
first Google.
Yeah.
Second, online radio reminds me of in the 90s, I did a ton of, before we had the full internet going, every cable net, right? Every town had a public bulletin board for locals on public access TV is what it's called. And so anybody who ever wanted to have a show said, I'm going to do a show. They bought an expensive camera, they might have gotten some stuff, or you could pay a small amount of money and go to the local public access TV station and rent the room.
That's
so
wonderful.
I got asked to do a bunch of those, and some of them were really good. Some people were good at interviews. Some people were horrible in interviews. Some people had a full production. I remember my band was on tour in San Francisco, and afterwards someone came up and said, hey, I have this public access show. Would you mind coming on to do it? And I go, well, we're leaving in the morning. He goes, I could do it now if you want. I looked at the band and was like, yeah, we could do it. We drove out, suburbs. Guy opened his garage door, and it was full on to Tonight Show. He had a desk, nice chairs, plants, multiple cameras. He had a little. So we did the interview first, and then he said, "Come on to our house and get some coffee." And his family's there, his wife and kids and stuff. And then we came back in. Him and his friends had moved that entire set and put down a stage, and we set up and we played. And it was one of the best public access shows. I was like, "Well, this is scary. This is really scary." But he was great. And then I've done some where the host was like, "So, you have a new record out, and what's your views on this political question?" And it was like, "Whoa!" It was like, and it was nothing to do with music. And it's like, why am I here? And it was just somebody that just wanted to get their message out. And I have friends that go, "Why do you do some of these shows are wacky? Why do you do, all of them?" It's really hard to screen all the shows.
Yeah.
But public access show was one of those things. Public access was, those shows usually came on late at night. And I always tell people, when you're flipping through channels and you see a band on, you stop.
Yeah.
If the band is good, you can hang out and watch. And then the interview comes on. If they sound like something you want to hear, you stay out and watch. If they come on and the host is wacky and the show's out of control, you go, okay, and you clip going. But you stop, you listened. If you liked it, you waited long enough to find out who the band was, and you went on. So it was a win-win situation for me.
It is a good situation.
So, yeah.
To never turn down an interview.
For some people, I worked with famous artists that are like, "I don't do interviews." It's like, okay. I'm not afraid to walk out of an interview.
Yes.
But so far, I haven't had many situations where it's like, this has not gone well. So, but give it a shot. You never know when you're going to run into something that's really nice or what is going to come from it.
Yeah.
I've been so lucky. I've had many cool experiences come from Sona. I believe that interview I did in San Francisco came back up probably, it had to be maybe 2 or 3 years later. 2 or 3 years later, one of my records was on 3 different labels, the second record. The last label it was on was Jesse Colin Young's label. Jesse Colin Young. Don't judge me on my thing. And he wrote Darkness and stuff like that. So somehow Jesse knew of me, but he brought it up. I don't know if the first time he ever heard of me was on that. He lived in San Francisco area.
Yeah.
Someone might have turned him on to me. But anyway, so when my record got picked up and put out on his label with distribution, and I ended up playing on a remake of Darkness that Jesse did. So that might have come, or a little bit of that might be because of that public access TV show. So I have no idea. But I've had many other instances that they go, "So how do you know?" And then they bring up some obscure situation, and I'm like, "Oh, wow."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so,
yeah, like being on TV on the Joan Rivers show. Yes. Yes.
I was on the Joan Rivers show.
Yes, you were on the Joan Rivers show. Yes, you were on the Joan.
Yes, at 26, when my first record came out, when I got signed, the record company asked me to not play any shows, and until the record came out. Back then, there was at least a 3-month, maybe 4-month lead time between you finished a record and it got mastered, and they had to go into distribution chain, and then you had to promote it. So they said, "Don't play anything until the record comes out." And I'm sitting at home twiddling my thumbs, going, "Really? I'm used to playing out a lot."
Yeah.
And finally, they called and said, "All right, record's coming out next month, but we found a TV show we want you to do." I'm like, "Oh, cool, great. What show?" And they said, "Joan Rivers." And I'm like, "Did you say Joan Rivers?" And they go, "Yeah." And I'm like, "What?" And they go, "Don't worry, none of your friends will see it." I'm like, "Why am I doing it then?" And he goes, "No, it'll be good promotion. And by the way, it's a competition, but it's not really competition. But don't mention you have a record coming out. Don't mention you have a record deal." I'm like, "Do I have a record deal? What's going on?" And they go, "It's a competition, but it's not. And the winner gets a deal with BMI." I'm like, "I just signed a deal with ASCAP. You were at the event. It was a live show." Because you don't mention that. I'm like, "Okay." So I show up to Joan Rivers show with all of my gear. I used to travel with so much gear, and I didn't drive. I'm a New Yorker at heart. I didn't get my driver's license until I was over 30, halfway to 40, and So we show up, we wheel in these 2 racks of gear and speaker cabinets. But we left 2 speaker cabinets. I used to play with either 2, 4, 6, or 9 412 cabinets. Kind of the Van Halen day. And so we left 2 in the van. And I remember the electricians coming. I don't know if we can power all this. And I was like, it's just a guitar rig. It's got a lot of lights. But it's just a guitar. It's like it's a guitar broken up into mini pieces. And they actually voltage metered everything. And said, oh yeah, it's cool. So I told you that. And the competition was, the competition was who wants to be a rock star, which is, I said, this is just not good. And there was one guy who was super hyperactive, bouncing off the walls, and he was singing. And then there was me second, and then there was a guy who played piano and kind of did show tune-ish vibe. I don't remember if they were his original tunes or if I actually don't remember. And then, so we had this little stage area, and then they had the area clear in front where they were supposed to load all the younger people that came just for that. And this is like 9:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, which you had to get there by 6:30 as well. And then they had seats, and in front of those seats there were 3 chairs. And when we sat in those chairs, on the screen it said Larry Mitchell wants to be a rock star. And then the next guy, and then Jones' platform and stuff, and then seats for the audience. And I distinctively remember them saying, so when the audience comes in, load the younger people for the performance right in front. Mm-hmm. Well, they didn't put us in a green room. They had us in the hallway right outside the studio. Mm-hmm. So we could hear, but we couldn't see anything. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first guy went on with tons of energy, and he goes out there. He came back, and he's like, man, that was the hardest thing I've ever done. We're like, why? Because this guy was bouncing off the walls. And he's kind of started to say something, and they grabbed me, and they go, all right, you're next. I'm like, okay, so I'm waiting in the wings. Now, I'm 26 years old. And when you're 26 years old, you're always trying to get your best sexy on. And I got my jeans on with zebra stripes on it, and I got a zebra vest and a black leather hat, and I got my shirt unbuttoned here. I got no chest hair, but it's open, and I'm flaunting empty chest, basically. And I didn't work out. I'm 120 pounds at the time. And so, and the song I did was my song from the first record called The Seduction. So Joan introduces me like I'm 5 years old. And by the way, on my Tuesday Night Lives, usually if I hit the button right, Joan introduces me.
Oh,
so I have that clip from YouTube. And so Joan introduces me like I'm a 5-year-old. She said, now we have an electric guitar, Larry Mitchell. I come out, hit the first chord, and it's a bit rockin'-ish. And I look, and there's nobody under 85. Nothing against people in their 80s. I'm headed there, but hopefully. But
back then,
mostly wheelchairs.
Yeah.
A couple ladies in front going. And there was a guy in a wheelchair with an ivy pole on wheels, and at 26, forgive me, I had never seen that before, or you probably never paid attention to that before. And so I'm trying to get my sexy on, and I'm kind of twisting and doing whatever and playing, and my mind is going, look away, look away, look away. And I look at Joan, and Joan is doing what she's supposed to be doing, looking at her cue cards for the questions coming up, and that's like no feedback from anywhere, zero feedback. I come back, and they're... Now, they probably were waiting for me to sing. I wasn't going to sing. And I didn't quite blend in as much as I blend in now. So they were a bit confused, the audience. And I could hear some cheering and screaming from this corner up here. But, you have to, everything's moving really in slow motion too. So it's like getting your body and your mind to look away and look up there. It took a maximum amount of effort. And then I got, oh, cool. And then I'm just playing to them. And something like that. So I did the show, and I was like, afterwards, I was like, wow, cool. No one's going to see that. That's good. I don't know what just happened, but all right. And then I got messages from tons of friends. Like, hey, I saw you in the Joan Rivers show. why were you watching the John Ritter show? They go,
everybody watches the John Ritter show.
Well, yeah, later on, but they were like, I had a cold, so I was home from sick. And, it's New York City. One person catches cold, the whole city kind of catches a cold.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that just followed me around forever.
That is wonderful. So how was Joan?
Joan was great. She was really great. It was just a bizarre show.
Yeah, it was a bizarre show. It was a good show.
And I'm a fan. I mean, she wrote Rabbit Test. Have you ever seen that movie, Rabbit Test?
No.
It's hilarious. She co-wrote Spaceballs.
I have seen Spaceballs many times.
I'm a fan of Joan.
I'm a big fan of Joan. It was always happened. She was definitely somebody to watch for sure. So now with the quarantine being over and you're still streaming live and touring, what's up next for you, Larry? What are you doing? What are you doing here?
Well, I did some shows. I did a really nice show at a new venue for me called Presence Lounge the other day.
Wonderful.
And I'm still doing some private house concerts, which are always wonderful. I do those solo. I'm looking forward to coming back up here. I have a band that I've been playing with up here, Rhythm Section, Charlie Gourmet and Jeff Eason.
Yeah.
And technically, we've been playing together since 1995.
Yeah.
And it came up for Charlie's wedding. Charlie and Kat. And so I'd like to find a venue and be able to play some shows with the Rhythm Section again.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And, I do tour.
How often do you tour? I mean, do you have like a set of states that you go to? So every 6 months you come back to Washington, or it's just kind of whoever wants you, it's Larry goes.
You know, I tried that for a while. I had a set rhythm section on the East Coast, and we did the South a lot. We even came out to the Southwest. But what I ran into was some places that knew me and pay was good and everything worked, and some places that weren't aware of me at all, and it was like starting over.
Yeah.
And when it's your band, you're you're paying the bill for everything.
Yeah, you're flipping the bill.
Flipping the bill. There's the song.
There you go.
So what I decided to do after about 3 years of doing that, I decided to go back to what I fell into by accident, which is every time I come up here, I do shows with Jeff and Charlie.
Yeah.
I did a couple of runs from here to Southern California with Jeff and Charlie, and with Charlie and other different bass players as well, Aaron Boyd. And then I have a rhythm section from years of being in New York. I have a rhythm section in New York. I have a rhythm section in New Mexico. I lived in Santa Fe, New Mexico for 10 years. I have a rhythm section in Florida. I have a rhythm section in San Diego. And then from traveling, I now have a rhythm section in Australia. I have a rhythm section, or a couple little rhythm sections, but one rhythm section I really like working with in Russia. In Italy, I have a rhythm section. And so what I would start to do is travel where people wanted me. So that's what I've been trying to do, is go where people...
Go where the love is.
Yes, go where the love is. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'd like to use that.
Please do.
I've been saying I'm going where people want me. Because then it's not an argument. And the best way I can explain that, and there is if you're a promoter, keep this in mind. This is what changed my life. My rhythm section in the South would travel back to New York once or twice a year, and we found a club to play at. And I had played all over New York. I played in cover bands in the 80s, all over Long Island. Played my stuff, did really well in New York, and then, you're gone away for a while, so you have to build back up.
Yeah.
But I still have a decent following in some places on the island. Without effort, I can get a decent amount of people come. So we would play this one place, and I shouldn't say where. I should not say where. We would play this one place, and a couple of times, we had great response, and then a couple of times, my friends would be like, "Hey, what time are you going on? All right, we're gonna come after this festival is over. You should play this festival." I'm like, "All right, cool. What do I talk to there?" And so people gave me, they gave me the guy's information, and so I would send them an email letter and links and pictures and songs and then video links and stuff like that. No response. Next year, same thing, no response. And then finally, someone gave me the guy's number. I call him and go, hey, just want to check and see if it's possible to get into the festival this year, coming back. And his immediate response was, first of all, it felt like he didn't want to answer the phone.
Yeah.
Like he was upset he answered the phone. And I said, I've sent you some stuff before. I'm known in the area. There's some people that would come to see me play. Some people already come. They would dig it. And he goes, well, I don't think it's right. I go, well, why not? If you don't mind me asking. He goes, well, it's a jazz festival. I go, so why? He goes, well, you're instrumental. I'm like, but how many singers do you have at your jazz festival? Now, a lot of jazz festivals have one singer. It's all about the music. One singer, one night. And he was like, oh yeah, you're instrumental. Well, and then you could hear him Googling or typing. And then the next words out of his mouth that you could hear a video of mine playing. The next words are what made me change how I approach booking shows. He goes, hey, did you used to play down in East Village in New York in the early 90s? I'm like, yeah, all the time. He goes, dude, me and my friends, we went to blah, blah, blah school, and we used to come see you play all the time. You should play our festival. I'm like, thank you. Yeah. That's what I've been trying to do. Okay, thank you. So if they know me, I will gladly try and do the show, or I'm looking forward to coming there. If they're not, I can't seem to be able to sell myself on them. Or I can sell myself in, but it's not really enough money to cover the expenses to do it. Where if they know me, I get the money that I need to actually do it and feel good about doing it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I started going. There are some places in different parts of Europe that I can go to, and then we add, because I'm there, we'll add some shows where they don't know me, but I have some different promoters, like the promoter that got me to Russia a couple of times, stuff like that. So I'm all for going where the love is. That's it. Going where the love is.
So where can we find you next? And so you had mentioned that you can download all of your former albums on iTunes, Spotify.
Yeah.
The new ones are going to be on Bandcamp.
The two newest ones are on Bandcamp. LarryMitchell.bandcamp.com. Yeah, LarryMitchell.bandcamp.com. And the first record I reissued, the first record that's on there as well. And then
the
Bandcamp.
one in the zebra, the one who ran the zebra. Is
Yes.
that your first one?
That's the first record.
I really love that outfit. Is that the outfit you wore in Joan Rivers, by the way?
No, I had a different zebra
So
print.
you have a thing for zebra print.
I did.
Okay.
I still do, but I really did back in the day.
Yeah, that's right.
It worked.
So Bandcamp will have those 3 albums. Everything else we can find on iTunes, Spotify, Prime.
I'm toying with redoing some of the records, or doing just alternate versions of some of the records and putting those on Bandcamp. I do like that platform.
You do. That's good.
If you, I don't want to get too deep into the music business, but if you Google how many streams it takes of a song for an artist to make $1, it's a little stunning. And Bandcamp is a little bit more fair to artists.
I think that's a very
and it can make
thing.
it sell and people still buy stuff.
Yeah.
So I have a really wonderful fan base that tunes in, that listens, that comes out to shows when I'm close by. If they're not close by, they call their friends and family, go see this guy.
It's very true.
And so I like to do things that, pick the songs that are more popular, and I'll put up live versions, or I'll put up alternate versions and stuff. So
yeah. So and you can be found on all social media platforms. I'm assuming Facebook, Instagram. Do you
and
tweet Twitter?
I don't tweet that much.
You Twitter, but you do know that bird's name is Larry, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the bird's name is Larry. I actually found that out on PSW. So thank you, Benjamin. But also, so you're on, there's another one, Discord, and then there's a new one. There's a couple of other ones. Twitch is another one.
Twitch. So when I stream on Tuesday and Sunday nights, I stream to both my Facebook pages, my YouTube, my website and Twitch.
Oh, good.
I know
Good. So
very
you can
little about Twitch.
I know very little too, because again, that's not my generation. So we're trying to, like, us old people are coming for you. We took over Facebook. We're coming. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Okay, that is so great that we can find you there. Is there anything else that you would like to cover in the interview today, or do you feel like? How about you?
You know, if you're one of the things, again, I fell into things when my solo career kind of slowed down, when my sideman career stopped because people thought I was still on the road, and then my solo career slowed down to a crawl because I didn't want to sign with any other record labels anymore, and I started to and I did the record on my own, and I got recording gear. My production and engineering career started to happen more, and then I lost a little balance when I lived in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I only did 14 of my shows in 10 years, but I won a bunch of awards for production. I was producing a lot. And I was doing sideman stuff. I was working with a lot of Native American artists, so I was touring with a lot of those artists. But when we were touring, we would go out of town for 4 days and then come back, and then I'd work in production and go out of town for another 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, come back. So then towards the end of that 10 years, the key word for me was balance, and balancing my own solo career, sideman career, production, engineering, and teaching, doing guitar clinics, workshops, product demo videos. And in trying to balance all of that, what I have stumbled upon is almost, it's not really a total fail-safe, but almost a fail-safe. So last year, when the pandemic cut everybody's gigs down, I was still producing.
Yeah.
I got asked to stream. People saw my streaming stuff, so I did a stream for Auburn University, for the Kennedy Center, for the state of New Mexico. And then I had some artists that asked me to produce remotely. They did some vocal tracks there, and with me on the video phone, listening and talking, and then I did full tracks and production and stuff like that.
Wow.
And then by being able to play all the other instruments and stuff like that, those were the tracks we ended up using. And so now I have, a month ago I was in Virginia, and I recorded and mixed my first opera. It's a Native American opera called Sacagawea, which will hopefully, I think, comes out in October. But I had never mixed an opera before. I had to actually Google, where do these instruments go? It's like, in a mix, like, well, the cellos go first, violins and the cellos.
Yeah, it would be really different because you're doing orchestra rather than drums and a guitar.
It was all new to me.
There's more to it, and the voices too.
Yes, and the voices.
Were the voices tracked differently?
Yes. So I recorded one singer and cello and basses, and the oboes and violins were recorded in another place. The male singer, the tenor, was recorded one place, and then the soprano singer was recorded in another place. And then, as an engineer, you go, oh, I got to make this all work because it's all recorded
because
differently.
they're not together, and so that must have been really hard. Because I've been talking to other artists, even choirs, and they found that it's very odd to play without the person beside them.
Well, the whole thing about a choir is you're feeding off the person next to you.
And the same thing with an orchestra. Do you think with the opera?
I'm very thrilled and surprised how well it came out.
Congratulations! I look forward to hearing it in October, and that will be able to be found on all those social media platforms.
I don't know.
Not yet.
I don't know where. I think it's going to film festivals because it's an opera and a film. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Because of COVID.
Oh, gotcha.
Opera and a film. And
Operatic
then,
film.
Yes,
So
it's-
did they film that individually in their homes
So,
and
yeah.
they're gonna put it
They
together
have
like
to-
on Zoom? Is it like a Zoom thing?
No, it won't be like a Zoom thing. I don't think it'll be a Zoom thing. They had to film everybody individually at their homes.
Yes.
This and that. But we
Yes.
recorded all the parts first. So basically, they'll be lip syncing what they did.
Oh, kind of like in the 80s.
Yes.
Yes,
They're making a music video.
Yeah, like
They're
making a
filming
music video. That's what I was wondering because we have Zoom and everybody's been trying to put their stuff together, so this is going to be a little bit more cohesive and it's going to sound mixed.
By the way, why did it take so long for Zoom to happen? Whenever we all grew up watching the Brady Bunch.
I know, right? No, and then it was the Muppets. Remember? 'Cause
Oh, the
the Muppets
Muppets.
had the little thing, banana, do do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had all of that.
And Hollywood Squares.
Yes. Why did it take us so long?
Don't know.
Although I think in Hollywood Squares they were actually in there. There was actually a platform that they.
Oh, they were
sitting
in
on.
one, but it was
Yeah.
cute. It was still cute.
Awesome. It was so awesome.
So yeah, so I did that. I have a couple more guitar clinics coming up. Only a few shows here and there. I'll be back up this way in November 21st for the Portland Guitar Festival, and
Nice.
hopefully try and find a nice venue to play with the band here, or I'll do a solo show or something like that. Whatever, depends on the state of the world at the moment.
Yes, it does depend on if we're all able to gather again, and that's a big thing. It's nice that we can do it for right now,
Yeah.
but we do not know what's happening in the next couple of months. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
So with that being said, do you feel that concerts will or should go back to normal? Or
I think they'll find a way to do it. I mean, they're doing it now. Some concert venues, you have to have a vaccination card or proof or something like that. So they'll figure out how to do it. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. They
it
can't shut
really
it down.
is that no, unfortunately, it can't shut down, and I don't think it should either.
No, they'll find a way to do it. We may have to put it on pause for a while, but
music heals so much.
yeah. And I really miss, like, normally every year I go to Italy or Germany. 2019 I went to Korea and Australia for the first time, and a couple other places, and Italy. And I don't know if we can travel there right now.
No, I don't think we can. I think the travel restrictions are still there. So once that opens up, you're heading right over there, right?
Well, yeah, I would like to.
But you actually mentioned that you teach guitar.
No, I had a few students. A student that was in the NFL. That was pretty cool. And refreshingly reminds you how old you are when he broke his leg in the first game of the season. And by week 4, he was back playing again.
Wow.
I was like, wow, if I broke anything, I'm done for the year. At 56, I'm done for the year. But I have a few students that we do stuff. Actually, we're doing stuff by FaceTime. Sometimes when I go and do to a certain area, I have a few students that come that I only see once a year or whatever I'm around the area. But I also been very fortunate to work with Dreamcatcher people, and I've taught at Steve Vai's Vi Academy for a few years. Been a featured artist there. I've also run a couple of lessons in jam session at Joe Satriani's camp, the G4 Experience, and hopefully those will continue. And I teach. There's a couple colleges. There's one in Montgomery College in Rockville, Maryland, that I go to usually every year for probably I think the last 10 years, other than last year. But actually, I did do last year because it was in February. Where I do either just the guitar lessons or guitar clinic or production class or engineering class, and every now and then it's all. And I've spoken at a few colleges either about song production, songwriting, engineering, just my music career, stuff like that.
Yeah. That's wonderful. So if somebody wanted to go into a clinic, or do you put all that stuff on your website so
Yes.
people can find that? Good. That's really important.
www.larrymitchell.com.
There we go. I love it because people want to know more, and you need to spread more love. Yeah, it's really good. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry, for coming out. Thank you for flying out here and performing all weekend for us. It's been such a treat.
Thank you.
You bring your love and light into here. Thank you.
Hi, this is Larry Mitchell, and I wanted to thank you for watching Meet the Music by Lujack Productions.